In this special episode of the Dorks, we sit down with Mike Zivanovic on the last day of Autodesk University to talk tech from the exhibit hall. So whether you were in attendance or had to skip, join us as we talk about the ins and outs of AU 2022.
And we're live. That's right, the Dorks are live from Autodesk University. That's right, coming to you on site. First time we've done this one in a while, huh? And if you can't tell, well, it's been a little bit rough on the voice. So you might not notice who each of us is. Sorry for no video, but well, sometimes you just got to go lowbrow, don't you? Jonathan, how you doing this morning?
Well,
afternoon, I guess it is now.
It is afternoon now, and I think that my batteries just ran out. I'll count that out. You know what, man? I think that we all, without video, no one's gonna be able to figure out who we are, because we've all been yelling at people from like two feet away in like a really loud area. Every morning I wake up, the first thing I do when I wake up is grab just enough water so that I can speak to other people and hope no one calls me. You know, we're 2 hours off of PA, and I'm like, dude, no one call me. No one call me until I can get this voice to actually function correctly.
Yeah, I walked down and I couldn't order my coffee this morning. I was like, I need the coffee to talk, man. Come on, I need the warm liquid. Well, we got Travis Voss with us. I think Travis is doing pretty good with the voice these days.
Yeah, I maybe ditched a little early a couple of nights. Maybe tried to follow Rob's rules of the road a little bit. Except for the brown liquor or the clear liquor, I love my bourbon. So.
Yeah, well, you broke the bourbon rule, but it sounded like you were home in bed by 12:30 last night. So that is following some of the Rob rules. We bent them a little. It's AU.
Well, I was out with our good friend Jake Olson the first night, and that was a little. I didn't have my conference legs under me yet, but by last night I was actually feeling better, so ready to party tonight.
Well, Trent, we don't have you here, buddy, so just wanted to say hello. Hopefully you're enjoying this from the cheap seat somehow on the Slack channels. You've been replaced this time around, and our guest is Mike Zivanovic. Mike, how are you, man?
Hey guys, doing good. I think this is great because people often tell me I have a face for radio, so I like that there's no video right now, so this is great. Trent, we miss you. My voice is extremely in a bad spot, and I had every intention of following the rules of the road, being in bed by 10 o'clock. That was the plan.
Right.
But not being in person for 3 years, it was literally impossible, so the first night wanted to just hang out and then head home early, but seeing so many of you guys and all of our colleagues, it's easy to, in New Orleans, to find yourself at a piano bar, and next thing you know, it's 2 a.m.
Yeah, and that being back after 3 years, we hadn't seen each other. Sometimes you got to bend the rules a little bit. It's like a good construction project, right? Lay a plan and then completely blow it up.
Usually we talk about that was the genesis for the podcast, was having these conversations. The conversations at this one, while they're great, are much different. It's almost like a reunion. It's
yes.
not, we are still talking about tech and whatever you're doing, but it's much more like catching up with people that you haven't seen in 3 years or 2 years.
How about the Zoom people? And that's what I'm going to call them, the Zoom people, where you've only seen them on Zoom. You thought they were 5 foot tall. They walk up to you. They are 6'4".
Right.
Because like Zoom it's a misnomer as a name, right, man? Because like you have no sense of scale when you're on Zoom. Like no sense. I had at least 3 people walk up and they say, I'm so-and-so, and I'm like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
6'8" tall, man.
You know how many people walk up to me and they're like, oh, I know you, and I'm like, wait, hold on, let me box. Oh yeah,
there
that's
you
who
are.
you
I was just thinking that they have the photo booths where you have the little things. They should have handed out little squares with their names at the bottom so that you can do.
It's like a Zoom window.
It's a Zoom window.
You know what I noticed too is obviously more this year than any other AU. I've met so many people in person for the first time.
Yeah.
So I've been on so many Zoom calls and different online meetings, and Jared Coelho from Autodesk, for example, we just met face to face now, and we've probably been on, my gosh, 40 calls together, virtually. Right. So to see somebody, meet them, and say, finally great to physically meet you in person.
I've developed a relationship, yet I've never actually physically met you.
Right.
It's wild, man.
And I think for those of us four are all social people, and we feed off of that.
Yeah.
So to finally have that again is awesome.
Yeah, Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, all right though, this is AU, man. This is all about tech. It's all about the tools. It's all about geeking out and getting dorky. What has dorkified you this time? Like, where's your eye?
I'm telling you, I think this is the Autodesk of multiplicity. I used to see 1 or 2 solutions in any space. Now I see 15.
Yes.
You know, I must have seen, and I appreciate that. I think it's helpful that, hey, this was a problem. There are a lot of people going after this problem. But I can't tell you how many times I'm moving from booth to booth and it's like, oh, you do the same thing as that booth over there?
Right.
There's now 5 people doing the same thing. We watched the HP robot, okay? HP layout robot. They've done a great job of keeping that under wraps, man.
Mm-hmm.
Had any of you seen that before here?
Not until we used the link on the crew as one of my news articles. I saw that. It was about a week ago, right?
It was like a week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I think like the episode that just came out, actually, you covered it. It was on it. And I was like, wait, did he just send me a link that says HP?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden to be here and it's demoing up there. That's wild.
The demo was impressive. I mean,
It was
anything
massively impressive.
Anything else that's new, we tried to poke holes in it. We asked a lot of questions, but on the surface, it's very impressive. It's going to be useful.
I think to me it looks like a practical solution, you know, and I don't want to throw the word gimmick out there, you know, because any product out here obviously, you know, will fit somebody's portfolio and their tech stack and help them. But when you see a product like that come out, you're like, there's really some sustenance. There's something here, you know.
Robotics is something that we've been looking at pretty hard, and it's always exciting. I'm a podcast nerd, so I listen to a lot of Lex Friedman, and it's nice when you have these roboticists that are focusing on legged robots or humanoid robots. It's like, why don't I just make a Roomba that prints on the? I mean, that's still a robot.
Sure.
I mean, it's not the going to cross the uncanny divide or anything like that, but it's still a robot. Why don't we make these things practical?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a bunch of humanoid robots running around here, but we certainly don't have a lack of the robots in the room.
Well, you know what I thought was really interesting walking over into the manufacturing space? They don't bring a lot of robots here, but when you look at how they're planning their lines and everything, it's all robot based. So they have a lot of robots, and I feel like I wish we could mix those up, because right now they have construction on one end, you're like architecture off to one side, and then you have engineering, manufacturing down there. I feel like it would be awesome if they just start mixing them up. You know, start saying,
right.
Okay, listen, we know how innovation works, and innovation works like a giant mixing pot. Let's just put everybody sort of. It would be uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of people looking for a specific solution.
Yes.
But I think in the long run, like I found a solution way over there for fab shop layout. It is not part of
That's a really
construction.
great idea. I think they could do it. They have these industry-centric meetups around, and those are very good. But it would be nice to take that idea, or there's Autodesk Circles idea, the peer group things that they've been doing, and start to cross-pollinate customers from different industries.
It would be cool too that, I mean, it's not like we don't have the capacity with all the reality capture out here and platforms that are here to be like, hey, here's your virtual map. Like, it is a bit of a choose your own adventure, but there was a reason for that. So if you're looking for somebody, go find it. And it's funny, to your point. So Join's here and I'm here with the team, but we ended up actually on the AE side of things. And that has been really cool. I've met a couple of people that I've been able to, link with you, Jonathan, that are solutions sitting over there with us that I'm like, wait, construction needs to know about this. Like, there was that configuring tool for Revit.
Yeah,
and
there's a
Navis
tool.
and-
This is a great tool too. Simple tool. All you have to do, sort of record your configuration for any Autodesk product, and it's going to push it out to your entire network. And it's not a super expensive tool, and it's not hard to set up. But you know what? I have to manage all of that. So that's a great solution for me. It's like right away I can just set it up once. I can go in as a consultant, set it up for a company, and leave, and know that when I call there, if I have to have them reload, they can delete, they can send the token back, reload, put the configuration the way I want it. And I know there's other ways to do that. There are IT solutions for that, right?
Sure.
But I want one in a little box that just works for what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to be greedy, man.
Right.
Yeah, and if they didn't put us over in the A&E space, and Tim was, 2 doors down from me, helped me with a couple of things, I don't think I would have ever known something like that existed. There's another one over there. I forget what his is called. I want to give Tim a shout out, but I forget what it's called. It's like pencil something.
Pencil 69? No. I didn't mean to say. No, it's Pencil 9.
It's Pencil 9. Yeah,
I was
Pencil
just
9.
joking.
And then the other one that was crazy is, did you guys see Avail yet?
No.
Avail. Alice did
Yeah.
a little intro.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I think maybe it was the Alice I was talking about.
You guys got to go see that one too. It's like another thing where it's like the way she explained it was data for architecture. But I went over and looked at it, and it's way more than just that. Like they're basically like Google for all of your internal application libraries in Revit, everything. So like when you want to use it, you can just search in their desktop tool and it'll pull up. And like if you pull up a piece of model data, you can drag it over into Revit and drop it.
Right.
And
Really?
it can be
Oh,
used.
that's kick-ass.
And I was like,
kick-ass.
this is super kick-ass, man. Like,
You know what
I want to see more.
You know what I want to just to backpedal for a second about HP.
Yeah.
You know, you look at that technology, and I call it the intermittent fasting of construction. So when you do intermittent fasting, you're on for, let's say, 8 hours and you're off for 16, right?
Yeah.
Well, on a job site, we're typically on for 8 hours, and then what happens in those 16 hours that we're not there? Nothing. So when we're looking at ways to boost productivity and efficiency, we're almost coming close to maximizing those 8 hours we're there, but now there's 16 hours of unused time.
Right.
So what they're doing with Boston Dynamics, with Spot, what they're doing with HP, they're finding ways to, let's take advantage of that 16 hours where nobody's on this site. So right now, obviously the HP, you probably have to be next to it
Right,
and
yeah,
watch what's
everything
going.
Right now is kind of a cool situation, but that's
Right, but it's
teaching
it's going to evolve,
Right.
you know. And I've
Yeah.
spent time with Trimble talking about Spot, and they said, hey, pretty soon here, it's going to be fully autonomous on its own. So at nighttime,
Yep.
it can go scan and it
Yep.
can go do whatever you want it to do. So this HP technology, what's not to say that, hey, at the end of the day, the last half hour, you're cleaning up the floor, getting it ready. So when you leave, it's going to go lay out. So the next morning, you're ready to go to work,
Yeah,
right?
talk about interesting too. It's driving a clean job site.
Well,
Yes.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Housekeeping, right? That's a
Housekeeping,
huge, and
man.
coming from construction, housekeeping is huge, you know?
Jim Gentile and I talked about it on one of the Disjointed podcasts. He's like, isn't it kind of a cool side effect that everybody has to clean up or put things on wheels and roll them away so that this thing can work? And I was like,
Right.
it's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
Dude, what Mikey says though is so perfect. With put the two together.
Yeah.
We have
Right.
now a situation where we have 16 hours, those fasting hours, and we have some. We clean our job site. We get the robot to mark things up out, and then we go ahead and we get another robot that's going to bring us our materials because everything's clean. They can
Sure,
lay down
sure.
in all of these areas that we know are clean.
Yep.
Yeah.
What would be really awesome is if you know what a knock is, like where you have a bunch of computers, because everybody kind of wants that
Yep.
at home, right?
Yeah.
Like if we had LiDAR on all of those, so that like as the evening progresses, you can see where the new materials are being dropped to know that the materials are there. I mean,
Cool.
in most of those robots, you could throw something on the back of them that's going to give you LiDAR. Hell,
That's
my
true.
Shark at home that
I was
vacuums
just gonna
has
say
great LiDAR.
the home vacuums
Yeah.
are already doing that. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't
Right.
you take advantage of that? To your point, to reporting, again, more setting you up for the next day's work.
Yeah, and the stuff we talk about here is, obviously some can say far-fetched, it's crazy, right now maybe it is, but, 15 years ago, to say that we're going to laser scan a job site, create a digital twin, bring it into software, model it perfectly, they would have been like, dude, what are you doing here?
you're
Like,
nuts,
are you
you're
out of your
nuts.
mind? And today this is common practice. It's not even anything that's like, it's just, it's common, knowledge
It is. I
among
mean,
our industry.
Think about that same time if you told anybody else that you were going to connect to the tools and drive things from the model to the tool,
Sure.
they'd have told you,
Yeah.
just leave the building now, please.
Yeah,
And-
we're gonna model, and then all your pieces are gonna nest themselves and go directly to a Tiger Stop or a Razor Gauge or a Kentucky Gauge, and then
Yeah.
you don't have to do anything. It's gonna cut it.
gonna cut
Waste
it.
is minimal, and you're set to go.
Yeah, and we can decide what we want to do with that. No, you wouldn't. And now there's
Yeah.
there's 3 or 4 of those going on
Sure,
while
Yeah,
we're here.
Yeah, there's not like one. There's
There's
like
not
a bunch.
one. There's
You know
3
what
or
I'm
4.
excited about seeing this year is I'm seeing a lot of wearables.
I do
You
like
know,
the wearables.
and I thought wearables were gonna, maybe kind of fade away a little bit, but I'm looking at XYZ here, and they've got some pretty neat wearables I was looking at this week, and just walking around the expo center, people they've got virtual reality on.
Yeah.
They're in it, and it's
Becoming more and more.
There's a lot of
becoming-
mixed reality
Yes.
here. It feels to me though like I don't know. It might be at the height. I don't know if it's at the height of inflated expectation.
What if it hasn't even begun what it's capable of? We don't even know
I
yet,
I think I'm more like, we look at, there's company XYZ right next to us, and we look at what they built, which is, when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's the daiquiri again.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, turns out that the second time they get it right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now, I'm not saying that I know they got it right or anything. What I'm saying is, like, that's what I see a lot of. You give these intelligent people, like you said, not the answer, but a direction.
Sure,
That crazy.
sure.
Continue on this crazy track and get us something cool, and we start to see some of that really appear.
Yeah, the thing that I've been excited about too is Autodesk continues to play on the platform, on the connectivity, on the data. So you see a lot of providers here that are working on how we can leverage that data. And it's getting pretty cool. There's a lot of, we talk about a lot. We generate a lot of information.
Hey, and cloud-based is everything now, right?
Yes.
Almost every booth has some type of cloud-based solution.
Everybody got to be cloud.
Got to be on the cloud.
Got to be cloud. And I've seen a lot of. It's funny. I've seen a lot of compute power coming out of the cloud and being consumable. We had that
I
like.
see a cloud GPU somewhere.
Really?
Yeah. There's actually a guy that grabbed me that they're really doing that cloud desktop experience without the lag, etc. That's
Leonard,
pretty
Leonard,
wild.
Was it Leonard?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah, I've met a gentleman at another conference. We were hooked up here who's soft driving.
Yeah, soft drive. That's them. Yeah.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it does. It looks super cool. And so it's funny. You see that like it all moved to the cloud, and then it all came back because we had these point clouds and laser scans and all this stuff we had to compute, and we were like blowing up computers, and now we're pushing it back out there again and saying, okay, we can go this direction.
And it's faster than it was. Like when you're using, like, the Revit cloud is actually one of the ones that I bought right away.
Yeah.
Because moving around a model on a network, what happens is it breaks what's called the central model, and then life is just hell.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, upload it once. And I'm like, well, it's going to take all this bandwidth. They're like, nope, it's only going to upload and download the changes you made, because we've structured the data so that you don't need to do all of these extra things.
Data deduplication.
And I
the
think
ones and zeros are pretty common. It's
Yeah.
just the ones that are off that we need to change. That's the interesting part.
the data structures that you're starting to see all these people come up with are fascinating. It's just fascinating. It's moving forward really fast. I think the thing that I don't see though, what are some of the things you didn't see, Mike? What was something you expected?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough question. You know what? I think I don't think I really had any to be honest, if I could just answer the question honestly, I don't really think I was coming here expecting to see anything. What spent more of my time was, I think between the four of us, we've got over 20 years of Autodesk University experience.
Yeah.
Being in a new city, New Orleans, right? So it was a completely different dynamic. It was a different vibe. The expo is, to me, set up in a way that is completely different, not in a bad way. It's just different from what I'm used to because I'm a Las Vegas guy. As far as anything, I was expecting to see like a Revit dominant culture from the construction side. I was expecting like just to walk in and just to be flooded with Revit solutions, and it's all Revit, and and I was hoping that wasn't the case, and that's not the case. There's so many solutions for things. I had actually a ton of conversations about Plant 3D this week, and I love Plant 3D. Love Plant 3D. Talked to Amy Marks this week, and we talked about Plant 3D, and she said it is not going anywhere. I mean, if for the rumors that I've heard in the past that they're phasing it out, they're looking to kind of get rid of it and move everything to Revit. While more people are moving every day more and more to Revit, Plant 3D is still a mainstay for the oil and gas process industry, spec-driven world, and that's great. I think that's great news.
And if you go around here, that you're going to see solutions for Plant 3D that actually automated in a way that was really what Revit looked like.
Sure.
I really feel like that a lot of these solutions look at the automation that can be done in Revit, then they look at that other product and they say, well, rather than change everything, let's just move that automation to that other product. We know that it's proven that we can work that way. I mean, I saw somebody spooling it, and I was like,
I spoke to somebody in Plant 3D. The thing about Plant 3D is you have a model, you export your isometrics, which it does a great job. It's single on ISOs, but those are DWG files. So if you update the model, those isometrics do not get updated, right? You have to manually go in. Somebody said they're working and they're very close to coming with a solution that when you change your model and update it, it'll go through and be able to scan those ISOs, see what the difference is, and it'll apply that change and update the isometric drawing. I mean, that's a huge fix in my opinion.
It is a very
Right?
huge fix, and I think that structure that they had in Plant 3D, there's this thing called a PCF that's behind the scene. That's that center line diagram. That center line diagram is a simple language, but wow, is it effective?
Sure, right?
And when you know
Many
what,
softwares use that to share their piping information back. But a lot of the pipe cutters that you were talking
Yep.
about, they're all
Yep.
doing that.
Off
and-
PCF, yeah.
so if they're going to go back and append the PCFs when I change my model, now I don't need to worry.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That's great.
Anything you saw that was missing though? I mean,
I
where
actually,
are the gaps, Jonathan?
you know, I think I was walking around looking for white spaces a lot. I think there's a play for somebody to come in and start taking some of the IT load off of construction, because some of this technology, if you put it on a standard network, I'm sorry, it's not going to perform well.
No.
Not without a lot of provisos, especially with the big files, with some of these other things, and the need for high processing speed. And that's what I didn't see. I didn't see a lot of people out there saying, we have solutions for the infrastructure to run this technology. Because most
Spot
of this
on.
doesn't run on a platform.
Spot on.
You know, I mean, like, that was
It's
my
kind of
thing.
interesting. Yeah, I have
didn't
to
see
say I
any of
didn't
that.
see a lot of that.
No, not at all.
No, in fact, in the past, you had seen a little bit more of those folks here, and I don't see them. I wonder why that is. I do see a ton of CTOs and IT folks here.
Yep.
But you're right. I'm not, and you know the burden. The historically speaking, as the way this stuff works, it's very different. I mean, I had to come here 6-7 years ago and learn that. Like that's where I learned a lot of those things.
Well, it's that lack of knowledge that created companies like RCN Computers and Bimbox, and just not knowing the way that all this stuff works.
Sure.
I saw the RCN guys here, and I saw a Bimbox shirt or two here. I mean,
I talked to Matt Bird from RCN for quite a while this week, and they're doing some great stuff.
Yeah.
We had a lot of laser scanning talk, and it was great to see him walking around and networking with
But it's
people.
fun to watch those things, which are I would say are kind of the traditional BIM computer
Yeah.
now, and now these virtual desktops.
yeah.
Because you can spin those virtual desktops up in an afternoon.
Sure.
I need a little extra RAM this week. Just turn it right up.
That's what I love about it with VM. Whether you're on AWS or Azure, whatever it is, the fact that you can have a base model machine that does what you need. But hey, I'm going to go process some laser scans. I'm going to go this week and pay for, triple my RAM and triple the core, and just jack the thing up for a week or two. And you need it, then you throttle back down. I mean, that's a great way to utilize your resources correctly and efficient, the right way, and not waste money.
Yeah. Get me all them GPUs I need while I need it, and then when I don't need them, I don't need them.
I don't want to get emotional, but I bought a bin box off a buck not long ago. I paid $5,000 for it, and what an amazing piece of machine. But when I'm not registering point clouds, which I can't believe how effective that thing is at registering, it blows my mind.
Yes.
But now when I'm just in Bluebeam messing around, I mean, I have all this horsepower. Obviously, it's not being utilized. So,
Yep.
To your,
Right?
to your,
Money's you can't ride.
yeah, I mean, it's like the machine just wants to go.
to
You know,
your
and-
earlier point, like it's only being used, 8 hours of the day, 16 hours.
So
it's staying there, and you've paid for that. And
you're paying for it.
when you do
right.
the the compute power, you're only paying for what you consume. So
It's not
at least you
worthwhile
can
to
turn
mine
it
Bitcoin
off.
at night
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and hey, you and we all obviously know hardware. You make that $5,000 investment in 4 or 5 years. Is it still feasible? Is it still
Now it
doing
goes
its
to
job?
somebody who's going to do Bluebeam all day.
Yeah, we hand it to
Right,
PM
right.
or something.
We got estimators with bin boxes now after
Yeah,
5
we do.
years.
Oh, we do. We have
True story.
PMs.
True story.
Yeah,
We
right.
have PMs using them in trailers right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Come on, let's be honest. That's where they are.
We're gonna start seeing that in 10 years. We're gonna see bin boxes.
Oh, yeah.
right.
It's a true
Already,
story.
yeah,
It's
right.
happening
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us,
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
It's totally a true story.
I did see MSI here, and
Yes,
I do,
yeah.
I know it's considered bad, but I buy gaming computers to do BIM. I think gaming
Yeah.
computers do BIM well. I think the graphics cards are really dialed in for it. You just have to be willing every 2 years to hand it down to your kid
Yep.
or to somebody else, because it's after about 2 years, it's not going to perform the way you want.
Well, we bought an Alienware for I think $1,700. I mean, the specs on it are great.
Oh, dude, so did
mean,
I.
So Alienware for, like you said, you're not gonna get 5 years out of it, but a good solid year and a half of modeling, but it works phenomenal. It's
to
great,
go
and
to-
it doesn't weigh. I mean, bin box is heavy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's a
It's-
big
it's a
big
big-
machine,
it's
but it's all desktop components, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be bigger.
Well,
this
and
is slim.
and here's the thing, to your point there, like an old buckism was like, hey, you don't buy a race car and expect it to last 4 seasons.
Sure.
You race that race car for a season,
yes,
maybe
yes,
2 as
yes.
you tweak it, and then you're on to a whole new one.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
BIM boxes, these Alienwares, these BIM machines that we're using are
Or
race
F1
cars.
cars.
Yeah.
F1
Yeah.
cars.
It doesn't mean it's dead. You can move it down, but you wouldn't continually race that same car over and over. You'd get a new one.
Put it out to pasture.
Yeah, she gets to go out to pasture and hang out and do Blue Beam instead of BIM.
Yeah, I would say like VM's like a Tesla now, where you could just drive it in like chill mode, and then you want to go into crazy mode or psycho mode or whatever it's
psycho
called,
mode.
and you floor it, and then you go back
Psycho
to
BIM.
go back to a ludicrous
Ludicrous
mode, right?
BIM.
Yeah.
There we go. Ludicrous BIM. There we go.
So I got
like
a
it.
question for you guys based on that. So I went around and I looked at all the reality capture that they're moving new stuff in, because there's a lot of the regular stuff. We have good laser scanners here,
Yeah.
been shooting those things for years and years and years. What do you guys think is going to happen? Because I was looking through the file sizes that we were complaining about are coming down. You know, even though the amount of data that we're using in reality capture is going up, those file sizes are just crashing down. So did you guys see anything in the reality area that sort of lit you up?
For me, it's Matterport,
Yeah.
and the Pro 3. I finally put my hands on it physically this week, and I'm a laser scanning, fanboy. I love it. It's one of my passions, and I'm agnostic, so I love Faro, I love Trimble. They're all great.
Yeah.
And listen, the Matterport Pro 3, it's not a Faro, it's not a Trimble, and after speaking with them, they don't want it to be. They're not competing against that.
No.
But in my opinion, if in the trades, if I need to go out and scan an area to theoretically model some pipe or duct or whatever to see if it'll fit, I'm gonna take the Matterport out there. It's accurate within about 10 millimeters, half an inch.
Yeah.
Which for rough, just seeing if it'll work, just to go to a GC and get it approved by the owner or whatever, that'll come. And actually, you can almost build on that too if. Pretty close. Now, if you got to get in the weeds and we're doing mechanical rooms and other stuff that we need that sub-millimeter accuracy, then you go to Faro and Leica and Trimble and all those boys. But for that unit that costs $5,000-$6,000 to be able to roughly compete with the $40,000, $50,000 boys is pretty impressive to me.
I would agree too. I think that I see that some of the tools that Autodesk is putting out there to work better with the point clouds in software
Yes.
is pretty interesting. But I do see it's obviously still not there, but some of the promise of photogrammetry is starting to pay off.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not even a Matterport. It's
Right.
not quite there from an accuracy standpoint, but it is getting close.
It's getting better.
Well,
it's
and,
evolving.
This gets me out of my space because I'm, reality capture I get a lot from, but laser scanning is you guys. Laser scanners has always been something I can't approach. And the interesting thing was I met with Faro yesterday, and they're seeing the same thing, but now that they have Hollow Builder and GeoSlam they bought, they're starting to do this approachable thing. So they showed me yesterday that they have an iPhone app for working with their scanner, for understanding flatness of a concrete pour, which made sense to me, but instantly able to use and adjust and real time do something with it. It's a very simple single use case, but to me, immediately when they showed it to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, a laser scanner is now approachable by somebody like me who doesn't really get it.
I'll tell you
I
what,
can do one thing.
within 20 minutes of spending time with you on a job site, whether you're using Faro Stream or a Trimble X7 with their T100 tablet, which is doing live Einstein registration, these companies are refining this process of eliminating the time to register scans and to export RCP files, which takes forever.
Yeah.
And just get something real time out of it too, but also then make that device usable. Even if I could see somebody who's probably got one of those sitting on the shelf because the guy who bought it is now with somebody else,
Right.
and it's just sitting there. Well, now this person can be using it for this one use case, but all of a sudden they get super used to it, super comfortable. Hey, what else can this thing do? It's like a multi-tool. I'm going to start pulling these other things out because I've been carrying it around. So it's interesting.
I love that. I love the idea of the targeted solution though too. That consumption model where it's I only really need this tool to do this one thing. Can you automate all the parts of that one task?
Yeah.
Leveling a floor, checking for deformation on the pans in the ceiling, all of those things. I could see a single use solution. When it's doing it without me telling it, it gives me a little red light that says, hey, by the way, the pans are deformed. You're going to need to adjust your rod heights to deal with this deformation. And it wouldn't take a genius to do that, hopefully. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. It would, and again, it makes it approachable. And I'm interested because a lot of them are doing this, right? They're purchasing up those things and integrating them. And so you're starting to see reality capture scanner companies have more of the 360 and more of the, other solutions to kind of layer it on.
Yeah, well, it's the platform play, right?
Yeah,
Everybody's
platform play.
trying to bring out their platform play. Right?
Well, and this was an interesting thing for me too. Like is as they've got so they got the Holo Builder, they've got your scans, your 360s, this kind of stuff there. Maybe I want to go in and I just need to look at visually see where something is. Great. Well, I have that. Well, now there's more data behind it. So maybe I'll click through and see if I could use this or use that. I love it as an entry point to getting me to do more with it. So.
It is.
I was gonna, because you had asked what haven't you seen, so I'm gonna pitch that back. One of the things that I was really getting excited about when they got Amy Marks involved and everything else was the industrialized construction. I haven't seen much. I've seen a couple of class titles about it, but it doesn't feel like that's been quite as emphasized at this AU. Have you seen anything, Jonathan?
I haven't been able to see very much of that in our area, but then I got to say, I just walked downtown over to the manufacturing area and look around and I'm like, this is actually industrialized construction. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there's a little bit, they did something really cool. They have a little assembly table down there where they'll walk you through a sort of a manufacturing process where you have assembly and everything else, and then they'll analyze it. And I'm like, this is what every fab shop wants to do.
Yeah.
So, and it was even, they're like, oh, this one's really good if you just pop up there and set up something. We calculated it in 2 hours. And I'm like, yeah, that works. If I can set it up and make an assessment really fast, then I can make real decisions, and I think we all think we're making the right decision, but I don't think that there's any way for us, A, to tell people how valuable it is to give us that planning time, and B, I don't think we don't know what we don't know. Right. We don't know that Frank walks slower and should probably have a job where he doesn't need to move around so much.
Yeah. Well, hey, I know it's been an awesome time here, but I think we got to get to that point where we wrap her up. So, any final thoughts from each of you guys on maybe what you want to see next year, or just what are you taking back home from this week that you're going to make some action on, that you're going to push forward?
I think for me it is the robotics, and something that we talk about a lot is the process too, automating the process, not just the HP robot and everything like that. So that's something that I'm going to continue to push for. We do a lot of, even in the digital world, we do a lot of manual work that I think that we can streamline for our people. And I would like to see Autodesk kind of come back and make a commitment to that industrialized construction and really push that, and maybe commingle the manufacturing side with the construction a little bit. I think that we both could learn a lot from each other.
Jonathan?
I got to tell you, I think Travis introduced me to a guy that's tying APIs together and really trying to give data context through the API infrastructure and making that achievable for companies and for products at a low cost. And that's what I need. Like right now, I'm developing a product and I need to have access to certain data. And those companies that are out there saying, we know that, we're going to help you set up easy to set up API connections to help drive data into your business, drive data out of your product. That's what I'm excited about, which isn't as shiny as I'm just like, pick the shiny thing, like all sight.
Yeah.
On shiny side though, Leica's got a drone that uses a version of Slam, and I don't have a good use case for it. I really don't. But god damn it was awesome.
But you're gonna buy it.
It was black. It was sleek. It was like, it was a little expensive for what I can afford, but I loved it. It was probably the funnest thing that I saw here, where I was like, yeah, if I had extra money, I'd find a use case.
Right.
Don't lose things, and you keep putting those 120 away, and at some point you can buy one. Mike, what about you, man?
I just think for me, it's, I want to learn more about automating workflows and to see, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to eliminate jobs. As a union pipe fitter, I firmly believe in what we do, but I want to learn more about how to automate things and to make these processes more simplified. But even the less cool stuff is like you guys talked about the IT, the infrastructure side of things. I didn't see a lot of it here, and I feel like I saw solutions for everything else, but I didn't see solutions to make sure that my investment in the software that we have is protected, is set up the right way, is we're maximizing its benefits. I always talk about technology minimalism. If you have, and you don't know what you don't know, but if you have Bluebeam, you think you're using 60% of it, you're probably using 20% of it, but you don't know that you're only using 20. So maybe take some more training classes on Bluebeam to identify, and that's just one example, but maximize what your current investments are. I want to learn more about the back end of how these things work, because it's the one thing I agree with you that I did not see here now that I think about it. And listen, I'm just glad that we're back in person. I'm glad to see all you guys. I mean, it's this kind of refills my technology gas tank and go back and.
I drained some of my other gas tanks,
Yeah.
but I refilled my technology.
Lord knows the other ones are empty right now.
Hey, so my takeaway from this, first and foremost, is that my good UA buddies here have it dead right when it comes to the flooring in their booth space. And in the future, I will be trying to get squishy flooring because
2-inch pad.
My feet hurt, and I have to keep going over to your booth with the 2-inch padded flooring to stand on so my feet stop hurting.
It makes a difference.
It makes a huge
difference.
The UA is about people and about understanding how to make it a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, they did it.
Surprise, surprise. The guys that spend all day on their feet know how to treat
Hey,
their feet.
right?
Yeah, right.
It should not be a surprise to me. So that'll be a phone call I'm making beforehand before I come again, because it's something I got to do. The other thing for me, the big takeaway for me here is I think we're at the tip of the data lake.
Yep.
I think we have been implementing solutions, and Tanis and I have talked about this at length recently, is that we're at the tip of this data lake, and what do we do with it? And I'm finally starting to hear and talk to not only just solution providers, but people who are like, okay, it's time to make data information. It's time to make data information. And, we're big on it, with data, making good decisions, right? Data informed decision making. I've seen more and more people talking about that, having that conversation, saying, what do I need? How do I get it? From the APIs connecting together, from, hey, I want to pipe this stuff out to someplace. So for me, the takeaway is we're at the edge of the data lake, and I think we're about to dive in and really learn some incredible things about the industry.
A lot of those solutions that I was talking about, the data points, the data solutions are they're trying to tease out one specific, but they're always like, what else can we learn? Like, what happens if I dive into the lake over here? What am I going to find? I mean, that's what's interesting to me.
I had a really good conversation about that too, Jeff, and I was talking to the guy, and he's like, listen, all data is not created equal. And some data, and he says, you need to really understand, when you understand your data, you should understand it in the way, like, is this required for security? Is it not required for security? Is it vital? Is it, us starting to actually filter out this massive amount of data that's filling up that lake, I think is going to be huge over the next year. Just figuring out what we don't need, because we're rich in ways to pull data in and poor in ways to understand it, man.
We are rich in data, poor in information. I would agree with you wholeheartedly there. Well, hey, listen, this has been another killer episode, but another killer AU. So it's great to see the Dorks. It's great to see the people. Mike, thanks for jumping in.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate
Trent's
it.
spot
Yeah.
today.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry, Trent. This is still better than Ben. And with that, hey, this has been the Construction Dorks live from Autodesk 2022 ish.
Yeah.
We'll see you in 23. Thanks for joining us.